Hello, and welcome to AI 101 for Nonprofit Organizations. My name is Jackie Watts, and I'm the Learning and Insights Lead at the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation. The term artificial intelligence, or AI, is everywhere we look nowadays, changing the way we use data and technology across sectors, regions, and focus areas. We know that many nonprofit organizations hear about this technology and its potential to make strides towards addressing key challenges the organization faces, but perhaps don't feel like they have the foundational understanding of what AI is and how it can be applied towards their work, and therefore they don't know how to get started. So that's why we created this session. First, who is the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, and why are we here talking with you today? PJMF is a philanthropic institution dedicated to advancing AI and data science solutions to create a thriving, equitable, and sustainable future for all. We do this by providing grant funding each year to organizations working at the intersection of AI and social impact. We also have an in-house technical team that both builds AI solutions and provides direct technical assistance to organizations in the form of product and AI strategy support. And finally, we offer resources and learning opportunities like this one to organizations at any stage of their AI journey. All of this is an effort to build a human-centered, tech-enabled future to solve some of the world's biggest challenges. We hope that you'll come away from today's AI 101 session with a deeper understanding of what AI is, including some basic terminology, a clearer picture of how you might be able to responsibly apply AI in your work, a better understanding of the typical AI journey that organizations take to adopt AI and develop AI-based solutions. And finally, we'll look at a few case studies and hope that you'll be inspired by how other organizations have leveraged AI for social good. So let's get into it. What is artificial intelligence? AI actually encompasses a wide range of approaches. With the sudden rise in popularity of generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, many think of AI as synonymous with generative AI and often mistakenly use these terms interchangeably. However, there are differences between these types of AI. The overview that we'll be providing here will highlight some of the most popular AI techniques. It's not meant to be exhaustive. However, in practice, it covers most of the ways that AI is applied in the nonprofit sector. Let's take a brief look at each. The overarching term artificial intelligence encompasses any technology that performs tasks that are typically require human-like intelligence. Think learning, reasoning, problem solving, and so on. We then have machine learning. Machine learning includes any family of models that enables machines to learn from data and make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed on how to execute each step, as traditional programming works. Netflix recommendation system of what you might be interested in watching next is an example of machine learning. Deep learning is a specific type of machine learning that learns complex patterns and representations in data using a type of model called a neural network. These models are inspired by the structure of the human brain. Tesla, for example, uses deep learning to build its autonomous driving software, as it would be impossible to explicitly program all of the potential scenarios that a car encounters while driving. Next, we have natural language processing, often shortened to NLP, which is a type of model that is trained to understand, interpret, and generate human-like text or speech. Voice assistant technologies such as Siri or Alexa leverage NLP. And finally, there's generative AI, also called Gen AI, which uses deep learning architecture and natural language processing to process and generate text, images, or other media. This includes technologies that you may have heard of or even used, such as ChatGPT, which leverages a specific type of Gen AI model called a large language model, shortened to LLM, to generate human language. or Midjourney, which is a different type of generative AI model called a diffusion model to generate images or video. You've now heard us use this term model a few times and might be wondering, what is a model? And how is it different from one of these AI techniques that we see here? You can think of a model as a specific implementation of one of these techniques. A model isn't really a model until it's been actually trained on some data. Only then will it be effective in coming up with a result when it's given some new data. We'll talk briefly about what it means to train and deploy a model later in this session. So how can AI be applied towards an organization's work? For the purposes of thinking about how AI might be applied in the real world, we often classify AI into two buckets: predictive AI and generative AI. This is an oversimplification, of course, and a fairly high-level way of looking at it. We'll look at a more specific breakdown in just a minute, but let's take a look at the distinction between these two buckets. Predictive AI makes predictions based on a set of factors in the given input data, called features. Predictions may help a user or product to select between multiple options. This type of AI is often embedded into digital products and operating behind the scenes. So for instance, the classic recommendation model fits in this bucket. Amazon has a bunch of data about products that you've bought or looked at previously, and it will use that data to decide which other products to recommend to you. The features it might pay attention to in order to make that prediction could include perhaps product type, for instance, book or clothing, movies. Another feature it might use to drill down more into your preferences could include something like genre, nonfiction, romance, biographies, etc. Generative AI, on the other hand, generates output that mimics human-generated content, like text, images, or video. These could be embedded into products as well. For instance, think about a chatbot that pops up in the corner of a website to help answer frequently asked questions, or an autocomplete feature embedded in a document that suggests some text. Or they can be standalone products. Think of OpenAI's ChatGPT. Now let's take a look at a more comprehensive breakdown of use cases. We like the classification set forth by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, an agency of the U.S. Department of Commerce. This taxonomy categorizes AI use cases into 16 activities, with the intention of being independent of the AI model or the technique, and instead focus on how humans might interact with AI systems to achieve a particular goal. We won't go into each of these one by one, but for instance, we can see that recommendation is on here, which would speak to our Amazon recommendation system example. Or digital assistance is on here, and that use case might speak to our Siri or our Alexa example. So hopefully that sparks a few more ideas for how AI can be applied towards a variety of different goals. In the nonprofit sector, we often further differentiate AI use cases by those that apply that further impact, programmatic impact, versus those that optimize internal operations and productivity. Using AI for programmatic impact includes applications like predicting which beneficiaries are more likely to need one-on-one support and maybe designing some new services accordingly. Combining socioeconomic and damage assessment data to guide the relief efforts after a natural disaster, or perhaps recommending personalized resources at scale. Applying AI for internal operations, on the other hand, may include, say, using generative AI to create a first draft of an internal memo or a grant report, managing and learning from internal data by querying using natural language instead of coding, or predicting which past donors might be likely to contribute again and how much. Many of these use cases can be achieved with off-the-shelf AI tools. For example, making a first draft of internal communications using ChatGPT, or creating marketing materials using Canva's AI tool. In fact, most internal operations and productivity use cases are better suited to be solved with one of these off-the-shelf solutions. These are challenges that every nonprofit organization faces, and often organizations from other sectors as well. It's typically not worth the organization's time and resources to reinvent the wheel. Some off-the-shelf tools may already be at your fingertips, as most of the software that we use on a day-to-day basis, such as Microsoft 365, Google Suite, or Salesforce, have built-in AI features that have already been rolled out. So perhaps you've already been given some of them a test run. Others are new standalone products that may have come to light as a result of new generative AI capabilities and may be a welcomed addition to your set of software solutions. However, when we start talking about applying AI for programmatic impact, there's often much more nuance. Organizations often have more unique goals for what they might be trying to achieve and very specific data that they want to leverage to make it happen. This is where custom AI solutions might be the right path forward. For instance, Khan Academy wanted to support its learners with personalized tutoring, so it customized OpenAI's generative AI model to build a solution called Khanmigo that's now a part of its product. PJMF's own products and services team also leveraged generative AI for a custom tool that we built in-house called Grant Guardian. This tool helps to streamline the financial due diligence process for our grant makers. In the next section, we'll delve into a few more case studies that show how organizations have built AI solutions to achieve greater programmatic impact. Let's take a look at a few examples of how nonprofits have integrated artificial intelligence into their work to further their organization's mission. There are so many amazing examples to choose from. We've decided to highlight two of PGMF's grant partner organizations who are using varying forms of AI towards their respective work in digital health and climate change. Nora Health is a nonprofit dedicated to reducing preventable health complications by training family caregivers. As a complement to in-hospital trainings, Nora Health has a mobile platform and chat interface to give family caregivers access to instructional videos and live support from healthcare workers after they have left the healthcare facilities. Providing this additional support for caregivers has been very successful for Nora Health and a game changer for communities they support. To keep up with the increased demand for these services, they're building an AI-powered digital care companion, leveraging an off-the-shelf generative AI foundation model. This tool handles caregiver questions more efficiently at scale. It triages high-risk inquiries for healthcare providers to escalate, translates information into regional dialects, and customizes advice to individual patient circumstances. Ultimately, this digital solution assists family members in caring for loved ones, reducing the risk of costly rehospitalizations, complications, or deaths. If you're interested in learning more about this effort, the Nora Health team has written about it in their blog linked in these slides, and has also made a wonderful short video to demonstrate their vision for their solution. I encourage you to take a deeper look there. Now let's look at an example in the climate space. The Open Earth Foundation specializes in open source digital systems to scale climate action. Roughly 5% of cities worldwide have the people and expertise needed to quantify and define their greenhouse gas emissions, creating a massive data gap. This gap is particularly acute in the low-resource cities or regions responsible for over 70% of global emissions. Open Earth built City Catalyst, a platform that uses machine learning to analyze satellite imagery and make it easier for more cities to track and reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. City Catalyst automates much of the process, empowering city leaders to take data-driven action regardless of their size or resources. It provides the granular data about a city's emissions that's necessary to unlock climate finance, private and public capital that funds public transportation, renewable energy infrastructure, and other emissions reduction strategies. Again, there's a link in the slides to the City Catalyst platform and also a short video if you're interested in learning more. At this point, you might be wondering what the journey to adopting AI might look like for your organization. How does an organization go from first learning about AI to implementing a solution like we've seen in our case studies? This is what we refer to as the AI journey. An organization's AI journey is the ongoing process of moving from a current state of using data and AI to a desired next state based on an organization's needs and goals. Ultimately, we hope this framework supports you in understanding where your organization is at today and gives you a sense of where you're heading if you're looking to adopt AI within your organization. At PJMF, we use this framework as a way to organize our resources and learning opportunities so we can best address the needs of an organization depending on where they're at in the AI journey. Consider these 4 phases. In the first stage, which we call curiosity, an organization may be curious about AI, but has not taken any tangible steps towards planning or implementation. Organizations at this stage may be asking questions like, we're interested in doing more with technology, but don't really know what that looks like. Or how do we build greater fluency with AI within our organization? We see the potential for AI, but don't have everyone on board yet. How do we build stakeholder buy-in? In the exploration phase, an organization has aspirations to implement an AI-based solution and is actively exploring how to make it a reality. At this phase, an organization is often asking, how can we make sure we tackle the right problem through AI? And how can we ensure we're doing so in a responsible manner and adequately mitigating for potential risks? Is our data sufficient and is it of high enough quality? The next phase, adoption, refers to when an organization has adopted and is testing, evaluating, or refining an AI-based solution. At this phase, your organization has a fairly well-defined solution in mind and has planned out the project a bit and is likely asking, how do we select the right model? How do we go about testing, evaluating, and refining our AI solution? And what are the data governance best practices that we should have in place to ensure it's a socially responsible solution? Finally, we have the impact phase, where an organization has a working solution and is looking to start scaling up and optimizing for greater impact. At this phase, organizations are often asking, in what ways can we optimize our solution and make it even more effective? How can we overcome specific scaling challenges to reach more people? Or maybe how can we cultivate the wider ecosystem of organizations thinking about this challenge or using this type of data to boost the entire sector? Certain areas of focus will remain relevant across all phases of the AI journey. We call these foundational layers. They include social responsibility. Think best practices around ethics, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, safety, security, and sustainability for an organization's data usage and AI solutions. We know that that's a long list, and we know that social responsibility is of utmost importance to nonprofit organizations. So don't worry, it's an area that we're going to focus on a lot throughout the journey. We'll talk about it again before the session is over. Another foundational layer is AI strategy, aligning around a strategy for how AI can be applied in a way that furthers the overall mission and values of an organization. Stakeholder engagement and training. In other words, creating opportunities for internal staff members, end users, or other key stakeholders to engage with the process of AI planning and adoption. Getting input from lots of people all along the way is what will help make your solution stronger. Data management and governance. Management of data across the data lifecycle, think collection, processing, storage, retention, and deletion, and the policies, processes, roles, and responsibilities associated with that data. And finally, technology, the infrastructure, models, databases, and tools used to manage data or AI solutions. Don't worry if you feel like your organization hasn't gotten started thinking about some of these pieces yet. That's to be expected, especially if your organization is early along in your AI journey. We like to map all the pieces out just to provide a clearer idea of what to expect in the next steps. Next, let's take a look at what it looks like to develop an AI solution. Perhaps at some point down the line, your organization would like to build a custom AI solution, or maybe you're using an off-the-shelf solution and just want to have a better idea for what goes into the development process and what steps are involved. First and foremost, building an AI-based solution requires having a deep understanding of the problem you're looking to solve and the people your solution is looking to serve. It doesn't matter how fancy your technology is. If it's not addressing a real problem for the end user, your solution will likely fail to gain traction. Next, once we've homed in on a potential solution, we have to think about what data we're going to need. Typically, a large amount of data is needed to train an AI model. However, the type of data and how much you need will depend on your use case and which type of model you're using. For instance, a predictive AI model may require lots of input data, whereas a generative AI solution might not require as much because whichever large language model you decide to use has already been pre-trained on a huge amount of data. Another important thing to note about data collection is that not all data has to be collected and owned by your organization. Oftentimes, organizations can gain access to external data sets, either ones that are made publicly available or accessible through a partnership. After collecting data, but before pouring it into an AI model, there's the important step of data preparation. This entails searching for any issues with your data and resolving them so that your data is most useful in training your AI model. When we're referring to issues, this includes things like missing parts of our data, duplicate data, non-standardized formatting, and much more. You may have heard the common adage used in data science, garbage in, garbage out. This refers to this step in the process. You can have lots of data, but if the data is of poor quality, your results are likely to follow suit. Finally, we get to start working with a model. During this step, we're selecting an AI model that's appropriate for the task at hand, and we're training it with the data that we've collected and prepared. As mentioned previously, generative AI models have already been pre-trained on a large amount of data, so this step will look quite a bit different for training a generative AI model versus a predictive one. After training, we want to see how well our model will perform when it sees new data. This helps us understand how accurate our model is. Depending on how it performs during this model testing step, we might need to go back to some of our former steps and tweak our model or the data that we've given it to make it better. Once we're happy with the accuracy and the performance of our model, we move into deployment. Deployment means the AI model is integrated into whatever system or application we want to be using the results. This is where the rubber meets the road. Our model is used by real users. But the process of developing AI does not end there. There's the critical step of monitoring that continues to happen after a model has been deployed to ensure its performance is aligned with expectations. Not only do we use this monitoring to decide if we need to improve our model, but we must be extremely vigilant during this period to make sure our AI model is not causing any unintended side effects. The results from our AI model are then fed back into the model to continue to improve its accuracy. Okay, we've now given a closer look at what the typical journey looks like for organizations adopting AI and what development looks like in practice. What we haven't talked about yet, and what you likely have a lot of questions about, is how we can ensure AI solutions are built and adopted in a socially responsible way. For instance, how can we mitigate potential biases or securely protect sensitive data? Although we won't be able to go into a lot of depth in this particular session, we wanted to at least give a preview of the types of social responsibility considerations you'll have to think about as an organization. These areas of consideration include things like fairness and bias mitigation. So how do you ensure that your AI solution doesn't accidentally discriminate against marginalized communities? Transparency. Are you providing visibility that A, AI is being used in a given process, and B, to the extent possible, how is it arriving at its result in a way that can give confidence to those using the output to support their decision-making? Human-centeredness. Are you engaging with the communities that you're looking to serve through your solution and keeping people in the driver's seat for important decision-making? Data privacy and security. Are you handling sensitive data safely and securely? IDEA, short for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility. How are you ensuring that your solution is inclusive and accessible to all? Intellectual property. Are you respecting the intellectual property rights of others? And finally, environmental sustainability. Does your AI solution aim to minimize environmental impact? How much your organization needs to focus on each of the areas could vary depending on the type of data you work with and the AI solutions you're looking to adopt. For example, a solution that's using publicly available satellite data has some less concerns around data privacy compared to an organization looking to leverage AI for client healthcare data. That being said, the existence of meaningful social responsibility considerations doesn't mean that you should entirely nix the idea of using AI. It just means that you need to go about designing and implementing your AI solution with extreme care. Let's take a look at an organization who is developing AI solutions in light of, or even because of, some of the social responsibility issues being encountered. AI Empower is an organization that partners with marginalized communities to redefine technological experiences. AI Empower recognizes how current speech AI solutions, such as video conferencing tools, are not built with diverse speech patterns in mind and actually disempower people who stutter. To address this lack of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility, IDEA, the organization is working on collecting new data to build a more inclusive data set, improving speech recognition models that are fine-tuned to these data sets, and doing research alongside the community to best understand what challenges they're facing when using these technologies. We know this intersection of AI and social responsibility can feel particularly overwhelming for nonprofits when deciding whether or not to move forward with applying AI. But I have good news for you. You would not be going it alone. There's a lot of work going into researching and disseminating best practices, creating frameworks to guide the development of new solutions, and providing guidance to organizations who want to put those frameworks and best practices into action. From large international organizations like World Economic Forum or USAID to organizations specifically focused on nonprofits like NetHope, there's a plethora of online information about how to navigate AI safely. And in addition to using our LinkedIn Learning course, Ethics in the Age of Generative AI, this topic of social responsibility is something we'll continue to be focusing on in future learning content put out by PGMF at all different stages of the AI journey. Hopefully, this session has given you a clearer picture of what to expect as your organization considers how to navigate the adoption of AI. So what's next? If your organization is at the curiosity phase of your AI journey, in other words, you're curious about AI but haven't taken any tangible steps yet towards implementing an AI-based solution, you might start by building awareness within your organization for what AI is and its potential applications. Feel free to share this AI 101 for nonprofits recording with others who are just getting started on their journey. Encourage your organization to be open and curious about the wide variety of ways that AI is being applied across the social sector. You also might start by gaining buy-in from the board, leadership, staff members, and other key stakeholders. Without their support, implementation would be an uphill battle. Try things out. If you haven't used some of the built-in AI tools in your current software or other off-the-shelf solutions, like ChatGPT, play around with them. Start getting familiar with what they do well and where their shortcomings are. Be smart about your usage, of course. Don't input any data you wouldn't already share publicly. Lastly, if you don't already have one, look into crafting an AI usage policy for your organization. This provides some basic guardrails around how AI should and shouldn't be leveraged to ensure it's being used safely and responsibly by everyone in your organization. If you'd consider your organization to be at the exploration phase, excited about the prospect of implementing AI and actively looking for how to make it a reality, your next steps might include defining which problem you're looking to solve, ideating promising solutions that are rooted in that problem. Note the order of those steps. It's of critical importance to start with the problem, not with the solution or the technology, and be open to the possibility that the right way forward might not be AI. We've seen time and again organizations that jump right into a solution without truly understanding the problem at hand. And they invest a lot of time on a solution that is not actually addressing the real need. If a promising idea seems AI-based, evaluate for whether or not AI might be the right fit. And finally, moving forward into the data readiness stage. What do we mean by data readiness? Well, this is where you start taking a deeper look into what the data is that you have and what you still need, the quality of that data, and what infrastructure needs to be in place to support a safe and successful implementation of the solution. Finally, we'll leave you with a few parting tips as you embark on your AI journey. Don't lead in a vacuum. Share your journey with your team. Model what you'd like to see in the organizations, the actions, curiosity, and desire to learn. Try things out. If interested in generative AI, resist the urge to remain passive, a consumer of newsletters, articles, podcasts, etc. Really try them out. Get to know the tools. Build your social responsibility muscle. So understand where there might be biases in your data, what potential harms your solution could cause, and how you might mitigate them. Don't task your CTO with figure out AI. Consider the specific use cases that are relevant for your organization's needs and build a plan from there. Get to know the data you have and the data that you're missing. Knowing what data you have, where it sits, whether it's sensitive, and what data you still need is key to using AI for programmatic impact. Don't rush the process. We're in the early stages of AI. I know it feels like it's moving quickly, but take your time and do it right. And finally, don't expect overnight success. Transformation, both digital and otherwise, takes time. There'll be some failures along the way that you'll learn from. We hope that you'll be continuing to deepen your understanding of AI basics and have put together a short list of recommended resources here to get you started. In addition to linking these resources in the deck for this presentation, they're also available on PJMF's Learning and Insights Hub. If you're viewing this video through the hub, you may have already poked around a bit, but if not, let's do a short walkthrough to get you acquainted. PJMF's Learning and Insights Hub is a centralized place to view curated resources and PJMF-developed learning content that aligns with each step of the AI journey. If we click into, say, the curiosity phase of the journey, we'll see associated learning modules. For instance, this AI 101 module. On each page, we'll also see a list of resources which you can peruse and further filter or search. For example, if we wanted resources on building an AI use policy. We plan to continue building out content on the Hub and updating it regularly. After all, the AI for Good space is changing rapidly, and we want you to have the most relevant and up-to-date information possible. If you'd like to stay in the loop when new learning experiences go live, just sign up here. And if you have ideas for other resources that we should add, topics we should cover, or ways we can make the Hub more useful, we would love to hear your feedback. We hope you'll continue to lean on us as you navigate your AI journey. Thank you so much for joining us.